Good morning. I'm Jan Byers. I'm the Vice President of the Riverside San Bernardino chapter of the California Native Plant Society. And I'd like to welcome you today to our June presentation on the Protect California Deserts campaign. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to, let's see. Oh, sorry, I just had a message there. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to welcome any of you who are new to the California Native Plant Society and tell you a little bit about our organization. California native plants are special, from the Joshua tree to our poppy fields to the redwoods. We live in one of the most botanically rich areas on Earth, with many more types of native plants than any other state in the United States. CNPS is a nonprofit organization made up of more than 10,000 volunteers, members, 35 local chapters, and a team of hardworking staff. Together, we're working to conserve wildlands, protect endangered species, collect scientific data, and restore nature to our homes and businesses, one garden at a time. None of us, the insects, birds, or humans, can exist without plants. If we save plants, we can save everything else. And by saving plants, we also save habitat for all the other creatures. So if you're inspired by what you see and hear today, we'd love to have you get involved in CNPS. You can become a member by visiting the website, cnps.org/join. Or sign up to receive our emails and learn more about what the organization is doing at cnps.org/get-connected. Now, on with our presentation.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alvaro Palacios Casanova. I am a staff conservation advocate with the California Native Plant Society. But before joining CNPS, for many years, I worked with amazing community leaders and organizations to combat environmental injustice throughout California. Now I get to do some really cool work to preserve California's natural heritage. The focus of my work at CNPS is to support initiatives like the Protect California Deserts campaign through civic engagement that brings people, lawmakers, and others together around our shared values of protecting plants, habitat, and inevitably people's health. Before I begin the presentation, I want to give a big thanks to Katie Barrows from the Riverside CNPS chapter, Colin Barrows from Cactus to Cloud, Andrea Iniguez at Cal Wild, and my awesome supportive colleagues, Isabella Langon and Brendan Wills, and the many others that contributed to the creation of this presentation. Public lands in Riverside County are in need of permanent protection due to development, climate change, and other threats. A number of local groups and tribes are working together to safeguard these places. Our growing coalition would love for you to be a part of this effort to protect California deserts by creating the Chuckwalla National Monument. Public lands in Riverside County are irreplaceable core habitat areas and critical wildlife corridors, which are becoming increasingly important in the face of climate change, such as the case for the Joshua tree. These lands are beloved for their traditional cultural landscapes, incredible biodiversity, popular recreation activities, and historical values. Popular places to visit in the California desert, like Joshua Tree National Park and the San Jacinto Wilderness, are seeing increased visitation. Protecting more public lands in Riverside County will help mitigate the growing demand for places to recreate in and increase the opportunities for communities in the Coachella Valley to access public lands. So what is a national monument? National monuments are designated to safeguard public lands and waters that have cultural, historical, ecological, and scientific importance to ensure that future generations can enjoy these places. California is home to 17 national monuments that preserve special deserts, oceans, forests, mountain ranges, geological features, cultural resources, and historical places. Some of our most iconic natural areas are protected as national monuments, such as the California coast and San Gabriel Mountains. Death Valley Joshua Tree, Channel Islands, Lassen Volcanic, and Pinnacles National Parks were first designated as national monuments. So what is in the National Monument proposal we're asking you to support? The proposed National Monument will bring together protections that honor and recognize the indigenous cultural histories of the Coahuila, Chemehuevi, Mojave, Quechan, and Serranos peoples, including the history of the United Farm Workers Movement, World War II sites like the Patton Camps. It would also expand Joshua Tree National Park, increase wilderness protection by adding to and designating new wilderness areas, designate a portion of Mission Creek as a wild and scenic river, and mandate that the Bureau of Land Management conduct a study to assess and understand recreation needs in the area. California's deserts span over 26 million acres and are like nowhere else on the earth. The deserts of Riverside and Imperial counties include palm oasis, Rocky Mountain ranges, and lush desert woodlands that host unique plants such as the Chuckwalla cholla cactus and threatened animals such as the desert tortoise and flat-tailed horned lizard. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service selected these lands in the proposed national monument as a reintroduction site for the iconic and critically endangered Sonoran pronghorn. These public lands offer world-renowned recreation opportunities and are essential to enhancing equitable outdoor access for local communities. They are the ancestral homelands of many tribes since time immemorial. The region also contains important historical values, and tourism in the area helps contribute to the economic engine for nearby communities. It's important to note that protecting these areas won't impact renewable energy projects. Here's a map of the area, as you can see, that would connect several different wilderness areas and expand towards a Palin-McCoy wilderness. The National Monument would also honor the long history of agricultural and pay homage to all the hardworking farm workers who have cultivated the fields in Riverside and Imperial counties that nourish local communities in the desert region and beyond, such as Cesar Chavez. It would also honor the bill would also protect World War II era training areas such as Camp Young, Camp Coxcomb, Camp Rice, Palin Pass Maneuver Area. These areas where 10% of all U.S. troops during World War II were trained. One of the many exciting elements of the National Monument proposal would be the expansion of Joshua Tree National Park to the east, which will connect the park with its proposed national monument and other existing protected areas. This would help ensure connectivity for the desert bighorn sheep, burro deer, and other wildlife that are facing threats from climate change. A December 2016 boundary study environmental assessment conducted by the National Park Service, requested by Representative Ruiz, identified 20,005 acres of land in the Eagle Mountain area suitable for addition to Joshua Tree National Park. You will see in the area that is highlighted with diagonal lines, the area that the National Park Service identified that could be added to the National Park expansion. The park expansion will help increase access to nature for East Coachella Valley residents, which is an important component of the state and federal's 30 by 30 mission to increase access to parks. Approximately 268,000 acres of wilderness outside of the proposed national monument would be included. The creation of wilderness areas in Riverside County would further preserve cultural heritage and wildlife corridors. Expanding and creating new wilderness will also help increase opportunities for locals and visitors to experience the stunning remote beauty of these lands. The designation would include protections for popular places like Ladder Canyon and the Mecca Hills and nearby off-highway vehicle trails. Proposal would also allow for existing recreational uses to continue on these lands, such as hiking, camping, cycling, hunting, rock hounding, and off-roading on legally designated roads. It would also protect the historic Bradshaw Trail, which is an important remnant of the formative period in the history of the desert Southwest. Originally used by indigenous communities, the trail became a link between Arizona gold mine camps and Los Angeles in the 1860s. The wilderness additions would include Palin-McCoy Wilderness, which contains large tracts of ironwood and palo verde trees. The drought-resistant ironwoods are a keystone species that provide shelter for numerous other plants and animals and enrich the soil by fixing nitrogen. The area hosts a long list of sensitive plants and animals, including desert unicorn plant. The Midland Ironwood Forest, identified by the Bureau of Land Management as an extremely important ecosystem, as well as the Palin Pass huge ironwood trees, are characterized by the BLM as unusual plant assemblages. And here's a map one more time just to highlight the wilderness areas that would be protected with the National Monument, and the Palin-McCoy area, which would be included outside the National Monument, but would add to wilderness protection. Another important component to protect habitat would be the designation of Mission Creek as a wildlife and scenic river. This designation would keep the river in its natural state and ensure that the stream is not dammed or altered. Mission Creek supports some of the greatest riparian bird species diversity in the Coachella Valley, and one of the region's smallest habitat areas. The designation would help protect a precious year-round desert water source for hikers along a portion of the awe-inspiring Pacific Crest Trail. Safeguarding Mission Creek in the face of worsening drought will help increase the region's resilience to climate change. It would also preserve important habitat for the least Bell's viro, an endangered bird species. One of the components of the bill would also mandate that the Bureau of Land Management, as well as the United States Forest Service, create a focused study on the use needs in Mecca Hills and Oricopia Mountains. The area is located relatively close to the East Coachella Valley and is heavily used by Coachella Valley residents for multiple recreation activities. It's free, family-friendly outdoors. One of the core values that brings us all together here today is our collective love for plants. For the rest of the presentation, I will share a little bit about the plants and habitats that call this region home. The proposed national monument supports a diverse assemblage of native plants, including several rare and endemic species, such as the Mecca aster and the Oricopia sage. The Mecca aster is endemic to the Colorado Desert, found mainly in the Mecca and Indio Hills. From the Chocolate and Oricopia Mountains, the Oricopia sage is found scattered among floodplains and along the edges of washes. Many of these species are at the edge of their natural range, making them particularly sensitive to climate change, and why protecting these lands is crucial. In California, Muntz's cholla is only found along the Chuckwalla Bench, a bajada running along the southern edge of the Chuckwalla Mountains. This is one of the largest of the cholla species and can reach over 10 feet tall. This plant is ranked 1B3, meaning it's rare, threatened, or endangered in California. Several other species of cactus are found here, including at least 4 other cholla species and one of the few populations of giant saguaro found in California. Now I'll talk a little bit about important habitat found within the proposed Chuckwalla National Monument. Desert wash woodlands, also called microfill woodlands, are plant communities made up of drought deciduous small leaf species found in seasonal washes and streams. Many of these species belong to the pea family. The woodlands and their seasonal washes transport water, seeds, and other nutrients to nearby desert ecosystems. Chuckwalla Valley Dune Thicket contains dense pockets of desert wash woodlands as a result of dunes damming several small washes, providing habitat for one of the highest density winter populations of migrating birds in California and critical habitat for the desert tortoise. It is home to plants such as desert ironwood, blue palo verde, and smoke tree. The Chuckwagon National Monument would also protect the California fan palm oasis. This oasis is supported by a spring which was created by fault lines damming underground water flow, though the amount of water present is variable. The spring remains underground in most years and supports a wide range of plant species, including honey mesquite, catclaw, and desert willow. Now we're at the part of the presentation where you can take action. We invite you to write a letter of support to Senator Ruiz in support of the Protect California Deserts campaign to create the Chuckwagon National Monument. A sample support letter will be posted on the CNPS Riverside chapter website. You can submit those letters to Andrea Iniguez at CalWild, where her email is on this slide. And social media handles and other ways to engage and stay involved will be coming shortly. If you are interested in advocating for other important proposals like saving bees, you can email me, as we're looking for volunteers in the Riverside area to support Assembly Bill 2146, which will restrict the sale of neonicotinoid pesticides for consumer use. And if you're interested, you can shoot me an email, the email below. And this is the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and I'm happy to answer questions as best as I can. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Alvaro. Apologize. Really,
All good.
really good. And I think we're all very excited to see this proposal to protect some additional lands in Riverside and Imperial counties, and in particular to focus on the protection of some of our most important native plants and natural communities and wildlife species. So thanks so much. Let's see, I guess we're open for questions. If you have any questions, you're welcome to post those. You can put them in the Q&A or in the chat. I'm just checking, I don't have any questions yet, but feel free to pop your questions in there. And maybe just while we're looking for folks to add any questions, Alvaro, I'll just mention again that we really would like to have folks who would be interested to put together some letters addressed to Congressman Ruiz. As Alvaro said, we are asking that those letters not actually be sent to the congressman, but to be sent to Andrea from CalWild, who will be collecting the letters, and they will be presented as a package to the congressman. So we'll have some information posted up on our website. That'll probably be up sometime in the next few days. And we do now have a question. How might OHV or off-highway vehicle access be regulated so that they stay on the roads?
Yeah, that's a great question. The designation of the National Monument would mean that the Bureau of Land Management would have to put together a comprehensive management plan. And I think with that, they would designate areas and hopefully enforce and monitor areas that are that should be accessible to OHV vehicles. And I think it's like many things, it all depends on the enforcement and implementation of management plans.
Great. Okay, the next question, I apologize, that question was from Arlie Montalvo. The next question is from Warner Graves. What's the process to create the National Monument, and what stage is it currently in?
Yeah, we're currently in the stage of getting public support. So part of this presentation is to get letters of support from people like you, Arlene. That was the first question. Warner, Brad, and others to submit letters so that when we can present this to Congressman Ruiz, so that then he can understand just how much support there is. And so we're currently just getting public support, and I think we're hoping to have like official legislative language sometime in the fall. No clear timeline as yet, and then hoping that he can introduce this legislation this year. So that's kind of like a rough timeline.
Okay, thank you. A question from Brad Hardison. What are the costs for this proposal to make the designations?
You know, that's a really good question that I don't have a clear answer to. I think with things like this, once the legislative proposal is created and submitted to what's called Ledge Council, which is basically a bunch of attorneys that review the language. I'm sure at some point, and it presented to a committee, there will be some kind of cost analysis presented. But at the moment, we don't have that answer.
Okay. Another question from Arlie Montalva. Would off-trail and cross-country hiking and camping be allowed?
Yeah, I believe it will. As I mentioned, a lot of the recreational uses that are currently being that the area is being used for would be maintained. And you know, I think outside the wilderness areas, maybe there could be some expansion of those activities. Yeah.
Okay, and as you noted, I think there'd be a management plan that would be put together.
Correct. You know, as far as off trail, I'm not too sure that would be something that would be allowed. You know, I think it would be. I think they would want people to stay on trail just to protect the area, the habitat, and obviously there's a lot of sensitive species, including birds and desert tortoise.
Okay, there's another question from Eric Lesser. Are all the areas in the proposed national monument currently federal lands?
Yes, they are.
And maybe I could just, if you don't mind, overall elaborate. The proposed boundary does include some private lands, but the designation of a national monument would only apply to federal lands. And I think, part of that is that there could be an opportunity to acquire some of those private lands from willing sellers. That's something that's been done in the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto Mountains National Monument. But as Alvaro says, the actual national monument only applies to federal lands. Okay, another question from Brad Hardison. Would this designation change recreation with dogs?
That's a really good question. So most national monuments allow dogs. So I don't see that changing unless, perhaps if and maybe that also kind of relates to the off-trail hiking. I would assume that they would want people to stay on trail, keep your dogs on leash, and just be a good steward of the area.
Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. I don't see any others coming up on the Q&A. If you did have any other questions, you could email those to Alvaro directly. This presentation is being recorded, and we will post it up on our Riverside San Bernardino chapter website, and also it will be posted on our Facebook page. It takes a little bit of time, so I would look for that by Monday, let's say. Might get it by tomorrow, depending on how long it takes to download. So if you want to share this with others or let others know about it, and then we'll keep you posted on opportunities to not only write letters, but find out more about the proposal and provide support and get involved if you'd like to. Anything else, Alvaro?
No, if anyone's ever interested in participating in any type of advocacy experiences, especially if it relates to your area, please shoot me an email. And CNPS is always involved in trying to protect habitats, and so there's always opportunities to engage our elected officials and our democratic institutions.
Great. Okay, I guess
Thank you
that's
all.
all.
Have a good day. Enjoy your weekend.
I think we're good. Thanks very much. Have a good weekend.
Welcome.
Thanks all for joining us.
Chad.
Thanks,
Bye,
Alvaro.
Katie. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Just
Bye-bye.
remind everybody that our next meeting will be live in Riverside, just to reiterate that at the end, if anyone missed that announcement at the beginning. So
yeah, just keep your eyes out on our website and Facebook page, and we'll be sending a notice out about that meeting. Great.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks again, Alvaro. Bye-bye.
Bye.